I want to begin with a question. This question is a huge question. I'm not saying the word huge because it's the Trump era. It happens to be a huge question. There's nothing I can do about it. And that is, how do we take what we studied in the Vay and how do we integrate it back into the real world? This is a huge question. And I have to be honest with you that the answer I'm going to give you today is going to be a little bit theoretical. Like, it's very easy for me to preach this stuff. To do it in real life is going to be very hard. I also want to tell you that the problem is huge because I actually go to America. I actually get to see you people in the real world. You go back home, and I hear how difficult it is. A little bit, Neve is a paradise. It's a little bit of it's a world of beauty where you have your favorite teachers and your favorite friends. And my gosh, you guys go to lunchtime classes. How weird is that? You think about it. You go to lunchtime, it's beautiful outside. Normal people are on the beaches, and you're sitting here listening to middle-aged rabbis who are overweight on matzah and who have throat problems. And this is it. And you're learning Torah. You guys are incredible. And when you get bored, you just hop on a bus and you go to the Kotel. And you're always thinking, like, which cool Shabbat experiences can we have this Shabbat? And it's amazing. There is a certain, it's like a bubble. It's like a little bubble called the Neve bubble that you're in. And we do not want that to be popped. What we want is Neve should not be a bubble, that Neve should be a womb. And that when you go back home, which is what we want you to do, we want you to leave Neve. This is a little secret. We're actually thrilled if you leave Neve. It's not supposed to be a place where you stay. Neve is supposed to be a place where you get instincts and values and Torah, hashkafa, how to live your life. And then you're supposed to move on and do something. As your mothers always say, go do something with your lives. You build a home, build a community, build a career, do whatever you want to do, and just do it the Torah way. And that's what we're trying to teach you over here. The problem is that you're sitting over here and you're listening to, I don't know, Rabbi Marcus giving you like the mystical insights into the letter Shin. You know what I mean? And then after you think, so mazakashul, what's it going to do with my life? You know what I mean? How's this going to fit in with working in the workplace and so on and so forth? So I want to give you an idea. It's a very deep idea. It's an idea that you should go over and think about, especially those of you who are planning to go back. I guess for some of you, this could be the last stretch. You're going home after Shavuos, after the summer. Yeah, it's happening? No? Okay, it's happening. But it happens. It's actually healthy that it happens. I'm always happy when a girl goes back, and she goes back and she follows this class, and she does something, what she's supposed to be doing. So let's start off from the beginning. By the way, I just want to say, is there any Avivas in this room? I wrote this class in honor of my daughter Aviva. Aviva just had her 19th birthday, so now you know how old this class is. It's 19 years old. You're Aviva? Okay, so okay, so that's good enough for Neve. So this class is dedicated to you. Okay, and I'm serious. It's a very, very special name. And yeah, it really is a special name. And do you know what Aviva means? What does it mean? What? Aviv. Springtime, right? There we go. Okay, so I want to share with you a Ramban, Nachmanides. Nachmanides, you know, when you open up your Chumash, so you have Rashi, which is, I guess, the first thing you learn. After Rashi, you're supposed to learn the Ramban. Ramban is Nachmanides. He lived a little bit after Rashi. He lived in northern Spain, in Barcelona. He was the greatest rabbi of his time. He wrote an enormously important commentary on Chumash and on Shas and on the Talmud. And there are certain mitzvos, which my Rebbe called them the Ramban mitzvos. So you and I talk about halacha. So we talk about halacha in the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch is based mainly on the Rambam, Maimonides, and the Rif, Rabbi Yisrael Fasi, and the Rosh, and then the other Ashkenazi poskim that the Ramah brings down. There are certain halachas that the Ramban brings down, and there's no reason why we should not do them. There's no reason why we should not fulfill them. The idea of 613 mitzvos is a little bit confusing. It's really a bit of a, it's a little distracting because there are many, many more than 613 mitzvos. There are 613 mitzvos that Maimonides counts, but the Ramban has many, many of his own mitzvos, and he does it his way, and Reb Saadia Gaon does it his way. and the Bahag does it his way. So I'm going to teach you now a mitzvah of the Ramban, which he says, I want to quote it to you at the beginning of chapter 13 in the book of Exodus. This is where everything is happening. Just by the way, this is the great proof that whoever wrote the Torah didn't work for Hollywood. Because it's incredibly annoying, because if you want drama, nothing is more dramatic than the Exodus. I mean, it's all happening. It's right in the middle of all the action. And right then, at the climax of the Exodus, there's like a tangent, and we have all these like boring laws. Like a whole chapter of just laws. Like hello, like, you know what I mean? Just imagine, I don't know, in England we don't do this, but in America they always have like commercial breaks. Just like at the very end of a movie, you know what I'm talking about. That's why everyone has Netflix. That's what's happening today. Commercial just at the very end of the movie, just when it gets to the really exciting part, that's it. They take a break and they put a commercial in. And here, the commercial is halacha, how to live your life. Well, obviously, the point is that the purpose of the Exodus was what? Not to leave Egypt so you could be free in the secular sense and you can do whatever you want, but rather, in Jewish freedom means freedom to express your spirituality. That's what it is. A deeper level, which we're going to talk about now, the freedom to harmonize your spirituality with your physicality, to make it one. That's what it's all about. So we came out, and just then Hashem says the following words. This is the very beginning. Let me quote to you. V'hisifa haparshus mitzvos rabos. This parsha's got many classic mitzvos. So, for example, this morning I put on my tefillin and I kissed my mezuzah. So all that is from this parsha over here. And then it says, V'yiskru hayom v'hachodesh shehaya aviv. And the Torah says to remember, I'm translating it the way that my rabbi taught me to translate this, that you have a Torah obligation to remember that the day that we came out of Egypt was in the month called Aviv. So there's a special mitzvah to remember that we came out in the month of Aviv, or if you want, Aviv is also a season, right? It's a time of the year, which we call springtime, but we came out in the month of Aviv. And Rashi gives a very, very beautiful idea about the word Aviv, which is not today's class. It's a class I would love to give at some point. But the idea of Aviv, anyone know the Rashi by chance? What Rashi speaks about? What does it matter that we came out during springtime? Look at this gorgeous weather. It's a hint. Rebirth. Well, oh, you're actually saying something else, which is amazing. That's not what Rashi said. You're actually saying something very beautiful, which I'm going to fit in, maybe. But Rashi says that Hashem chose a time of the calendar where the weather was perfect. He brings down psukim, verses, that show us that the perfect weather to leave is in the springtime. And the idea behind it is as follows. Some of your granddads could have been Holocaust survivors. It could be that they were liberated by Russian or American servicemen, and they remember that moment. One of my all-time favorite rabbis is the Kloisenberger Rebbe. The Kloisenberger Rebbe, when he saw the American troops, he burst out crying. He burst out crying. Why did he burst out crying? Out of happiness, out of sadness. He was so convinced that the war could only end with the coming of Mashiach. His student, Rabbi Weiss, listened to him talking throughout the Holocaust, and he was always saying verses along the lines of Mimkomcha Makenu Sefia, V'simlach Aleinu K'mechakim Menachem Lelach, which means, we're waiting for you to bring the Mashiach, to rebuild your temple. He was convinced that something as evil and as awful as the Holocaust could only end in one way, and one way only. But the point is, for the remaining 99% of normal people, seeing the American troops, seeing the Russian troops meant you were liberated, you're free. At that point then, probably no one cared less about the weather. You didn't care, no one cared less about it. It wouldn't make a difference if it was summer or winter. You were free. There was such a huge, big change in your status from being a Holocaust victim to being a free person. The weather was irrelevant. But the point is, when Hashem did the Geula, it mattered to Hashem, out of his pure love for us, that moment was perfect on every single level, including the weather. This is Rashi. This is Rashi's approach, the idea of recognizing Hashem's goodness to us. And there's a lot to talk about. The words Hakaras HaTov. Hakaras HaTov means that when your husband buys you flowers, he will research your taste in both colors and flower types. A lot of husbands have to learn this the hard way, by catching the eyes of their spouses as they make mistake after mistake. But that's it. If you want to give a gift, so you want to make it perfect in every single way. When Hashem comes to that moment after 210 years, now is the time for the Geula. Now is the time for the romance between God and his people to bloom. So that moment has to be perfect on every single level. That's Rashi. Rabbi Bachya is the one I want to speak about. Interesting, because Rabbi Bachya was the greatest student of the Ramban. I just made it up. I don't know if he's the greatest student. It could have been the Rashba was also a student. He had a lot of great students. That word, the great, he was a student of the Ramban. I just did that for drama. Rabbeinu Bachya was a huge student. I have to stop using the word huge. Correct me if I use it. Okay. He was a massive, is that okay? He was a massive student of the Ramban, and Nachmanides is basically the source of our discussion. The Ramban was the one that tells us it's a mitzvah to remember that we are now in springtime. And Rabbeinu Bachya gives two answers about the importance of the word aviv, one which I will not explain, which is actually closer to, what's your name, please? Danny. To what Danny was referring to, which would be a different class, the idea of renewal, and that is that the word aviv is short for, this is for you, Av Yud Bet, the father, the big daddy of the 12 months. So months is a renewal cycle, and the beginning of the renewal cycles begins with Chodesh Aviv. So that could be a different class. We talk about the idea that this is a time of renewal, recreating yourself, and so on and so forth. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the other answer of the Rabbeinu Bachya, which I'm warning you now, expect to be weirded out. Priya, I know you're from California, and nothing will weird you. But just deal with it. What I'm about to say to you now, it's just bizarre. It's just a bizarre answer. But he says it. And we're going to have to figure out what on earth is he talking about. And this is really the most important thing that I want to share with you. I really believe today's class is the class to be spoken out for people who are making that transition from the beautiful, cuddly world of Neve back into the real world, which is the place that they belong, which is the place that you're supposed to go to. This is something very important to remember. We don't want you here. We want this to be a womb, or it doesn't have to be a womb. The womb is not just your only womb. Hopefully your homes and many other places of education as well, but a part of your womb that creates you into becoming that person that you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be go out there and spread your wings and make a difference in this world in any way that is the correct way for you. That's what we want you to do. So the Ramban says that it's a mitzvah at the time of Pesach, this time of the year, to remember that we came out in the month of Aviv. Says Rabbeinu Bachya, because Aviv is a reference. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? It is a reference to, you're going to love this. What do people call you normally? What's your normal English name? Irina. Irina. Okay, Irina, you're going to love this. If you ever wondered why your Hebrew name is Aviva, well, now you're going to know. You're called Aviva because Aviva is a reference to the barley harvest. The barley harvest. Damn. You are named after the barley harvest. He actually brings down a pasuk over here. If I can just quote him. If I can read my writing from 19 years ago. Here it goes. Va'apishta v'sa'ira nukasa ki ha'sa'ira aviv. So aviv means the barley harvest. Aviv was in its full potential, in its full stalks. Va'apishta givo. This is in reference to the Makkah of Barad. So he says over here that the aviv is a code name to the barley harvest. And he says, whatever you do, never forget that we came out during the barley harvest. And that is the great, big, huge message that we have to take in and try and remember. So I don't really know if you're into barley. I'm certainly not. My wife has trained me to be into oats. It's a little scary. And now, we just after Pesach was over, we bought spelt rolls. They're pretty good. And my wife makes spelt challah. Priya, hopefully you get to taste it this Shabbos. But that's it. Okay, she has spelt, oats, barley. I don't know. You know, wait. Ha! Like a yeshiva bacher, barley goes into chalent. So it's got to be good. It's got to be good. But the point is that in case you think that Rabbeinu Bachya has gone just a little mad, a little batty, he's like completely missed the point over here. His own master, his own teacher, who was the Rabbeinu Bachya's teacher? Who remembers? The Ramban. So what does the Ramban say? The Ramban in Parshas Omer, on that verse that talks about the mitzvah of Sfiras Omer, of counting the Omer. What did we count last night? 8. You sure? Yeah. Okay, what are we counting tonight? 9. Good, you didn't get nervous. Okay, Baruch Hashem. It's like, like you go ask on the Vegra, and she's just learned the laws. Who teaches over here? Rabbi Schwab teaches Sfiras Omer. You say, so what did you have for lunch today? Yesterday we had spaghetti. Like they get nervous. So yeah, you can count it. It's still the middle of the day today, so you can say the word 9. It's okay. But today is the 8th day of the Sfira. Says the Ramban, he's got a long commentary on what Sfiras Omer is all about, and in it he makes the following declaration: you should know that counting Sfiras Omer, you count from what to what? From 1 to 49. But he doesn't say that. We count from what to what? Pesach to Shavuos. That's exactly the right answer. The only problem is he doesn't say that.
Barley to wheat?
Oh yeah, very good. He actually says that what we do, Sfiras HaOmer, counting the Omer, means Omer is brought from barley, and then on the 50th day, you bring something from wheat. You bring the wheat harvest. So now it's getting really strange on us, because believe it or not, we're actually counting from Aviv, which is the barley harvest, to Shavuos, which is the wheat harvest. So suddenly we all need to get agrarian in our mind. We have to think like a farmer. We're counting from barley to wheat. That's what life is all about. So we've got to figure this out. What exactly is going on? I just want you to know that in Talmud, whenever the Talmud wants to say things that have got nothing to do with each other. So in England we say, it's like, in America you say like apples and oranges, right? But what's the English, who's British over here? We say chalk and cheese. Where are you? Any Brits? The point is that the Ramban says we count from barley to wheat. That when the Talmud wants to say two things, like in the laws of making a claim, if I say you owe me $100 and you say no, Rabbi, you owe me 50. Excuse me, I owe you 50. If I say you owe me 100, you say I owe you 50. So then you are accepting my claim in part. But if I say you owe me 100 bushels of wheat and you say no, Rabbi, I owe you 100 bushels of barley, then you haven't admitted to anything. It's like a totally different claim. There's a lot of practical halachic differences between the way that you give an answer to someone else's claim. The point being is that wheat and barley are two opposites, and the way that we're always taught as children, but we're going to see this on a whole different level now, is that barley is the classic food of animals, and wheat is the classic food of Homo sapiens, of humans. But there's something much, much deeper going on, as will be revealed in the next 10, 15 minutes. Are you sitting comfortably? Because it's all happening right now. Everyone get into the barley mode. Get into a barley frame of mind. Okay, so by the way, I'm obligated by Mrs. Fink. She told me I have to make a Harry Potter reference because she put a lot of work into the poster. So there, I just did. Anyhow, so yeah, because this is called Self-Discovery and the Chamber of Secrets, because you'll see why in a moment, why I chose that title. But the point is, I don't know if you know this, but in last week's Parsha, this was like before Pesach, we read about what's called bringing a sacrifice made out of flour. In Hebrew, it's called a mincha. So a mincha is a flour. If you wanted to bring a gift that let's say you're like strictly vegetarian and you refuse to bring, you won't do that, okay? So what do? So you bring something out of flour, which is fine. There's all kinds of different types of flour minchas that you can bring. They all have one thing in common, and that is that the base is wheat, except for two. There are two basic exceptions. One is the minchas Omer, which is what we're talking about today, the Omer, and Ayin Mem Resh, Omer. And the second is, anybody know? Was classic carbon sacrifice that comes from barley. I'll give you a clue. It's brought by a woman, and we don't like her. We're not happy with her. I'll give you a clue. This is what she does on the Azara. Soda pop, get it? It's a bad joke. It's a really bad. A sota woman. Okay, so get it? Soda pop.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. Okay, so for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, a woman has been accused of cheating on her husband. That's it. Whatever it is, the cameras were there, and they saw her go in this motel room with the mailman. Whatever it is, whatever. Choose your horror story, and then she's brought to the Beis Hamikdash, and she goes through this whole process to try and get her to confess. And worst case scenario is she takes what's called the Sota waters, which has Hashem's name dissolved in it. And if she was indeed lying and she indeed committed adultery, so this is something spectacular for those of you that like. This could be a scene in a Harry Potter movie, but it's more like adult horror, because she basically explodes all over the Azara floor, which must be quite a sight. What it is, bits of soda woman all around. That's it. But that's the way she explodes. The point is that before that, she brings a carbon, which is basically barley. So it's the same barley as the carbon Omer, but there's a difference. What is the difference? The difference is as follows. The barley that the soda woman brings is coarse barley granules, and you don't add the two standard ingredients, which is, anybody knows? Oil. Why? Because oil is called shemen. Shemen symbolizes light. And she acted in darkness. What's the other one? Think of horror movies. We're already doing horror movies. Dracula and frankincense. There we go. Okay? Frankincense. I want to suck your blood. Okay. Now that's Dracula. This is Frankenstein. But I always used to think that frankincense was just like his younger sister. Anyhow, but the point is that you see all the frankincense, and that spices it up a little bit, and that goes together. Frankenstein is in Hebrew. It's called Lavona. Sometimes it's a girl's name, Lavona. It's a pretty name, and it means frankincense, and it's ridiculous, and the imahos, the matriarchs, are compared to frankincense. And she did not act like the imahos. The imahos were pure and modest and so on and so forth, and she strayed away from their ways. So she can have no lavonas. It's coarse granules of barley. Not the Omer. The Omer is treated differently. What do you do with the Omer? So the Omer is passed through a sieve to make it a little bit more refined. Once you finish passing it through a sieve, you pass it through a second sieve, which is even more refined than the first, and then a third sieve, and then a fourth and a fifth, all the way to number 13. What is the significance of number 13? So in the Vega, I was supposed to say it's Gematria Ahava. What? There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Eden. So there we go. Echad. God is one. Aleph Ches Daled. That's the number of completion. For example, you and I next week are going to mention that there are 13 central blessings of needs of humanity that we ask Hashem from Das all the way to Shema Kolenu is 13. The 13 is the number of completion. So whether this is symbolic or not, the idea of passing it through 13 sieves means to take the barley to a state where it is as close as possible to wheat itself. And the idea is that the language of the Rabbi, it's me'ein chitas sol, and it's chitas chitim. It gets close to the refinement of wheat, but it never, ever, ever becomes wheat. It's important to remember that. It's still barley. It's still barley. You did everything you can. You pass it through sieve after sieve after sieve after sieve until you can do no more. That moment then, you bring it as a carbon after the 13th sieve. So what on earth is going on over here? What is going on behind the scenes? And now comes the fun part of the class. Because everything is about to become revealed. This is it. This is the point I wanted to get you to. So today is Pikon Irina Day, of Irina from Ukraine, who is also known as Aviva. Irina, could you give me, if you wanted to marry a nice, good yeshiva bacha, right, which you probably do. It doesn't have to be Russian. It could be whatever works out to be. Give him a name. Give me a nice Jewish name. Daniel. Okay, I like that. Daniel. So what I wanted to do, I want you to imagine a fictitious couple called Daniel and Aviva. And Daniel and Aviva, we're going back in time. It's going to be, going back in time all the way to the times of the Jewish people in the wilderness. How long were they there for? For 40 years. So here we have a young married couple. We have Aviva and Daniel, and they are so religious. They are so into it because Aviva loves Neve. I mean, she loves being in the midbar, and Daniel loves or Sameach, whatever it is, the right thing to say at this moment in time, whatever it is, Machon Shlomo, just whatever I'm supposed to be saying. The point is that they love their classes because I don't know if you realize what happened in the midbar, but the midbar makes Neve look like a Siberian war camp. No offense, but in those days, if you were in the midbar, all you did was sat from morning to night in your favorite classes. But there was nothing else to do because the food was ready-made. You didn't have to prepare it. The mom tasted like whatever you wanted. So if you wanted to go like Chinese, or just sushi or whatever it is, or borscht, like the grandma used to make. Whatever, okay? Whatever you want it to taste like, it tastes. It's always perfect. Everything was amazing. Your clothing was always, every morning, you woke up, it was freshly perfumed by the Anan HaKavod, and dry cleaned, and just you always smelled great. You never needed a shower, and you never needed a bathroom, according to one opinion. According to one opinion, you never needed to sweat because the ground basically walked for you. It was like a moving escalator. You could just stand still, and you would sit in a class, and whatever your mood was, Moshe Rabbeinu, Yoshua, whoever you wanted to hear, Aaron and Cohen, or the ladies had special classes like Miriam, Elisheva, they were giving, Miriam was like the top teacher in those days. And you could hear classes in Torah, and they were like incredible, because these were the best teachers that the world ever has. Until this very day, Moshe is called Moshe Rabbeinu. He's the quintessential teacher. And you could go hear his classes. It was the most amazing thing, the most beautiful thing, from morning to night. And that's it. Never ever did you have to think about, you're always healthy, you always felt good. The man was like perfectly in balance with your inner nature. So you always felt in the prime of health. You always looked great. And that's it. You loved the midbar. But there's one thing that Moshe Rabbeinu would do at the end of every single one of his classes. Just as he would end, he would snap his finger, and gospel singers would suddenly appear. And they would start to sing together, "Take me to the promised land, ooh, take me to the promised land." And everyone would start getting up and dancing and Moshe Rabbeinu would scream out and say, "Remember, it's not about the midbar. It's all about the promised land. It's all about the land of Israel." And everyone knew that the midbar was a temporary situation. No one was supposed to stay forever in the midbar. The midbar was a transition. The midbar was a road, and the end of the road was the palace, and that palace is called the land of Israel. And finally they're there. After all those years, finally this young couple, Daniel and Aviva, they're happily, married, they're in love with Torah, they're in love with their classes. Finally, they get to cross the Jordan. Moshe Rabbeinu is no longer alive, but they have his incredible replacement, Yeshua, and they cross over. And that's it. And of course, for 14 years, they conquer the land, they divide the land. Eventually, they get to settle down, and they get their little homestead somewhere in the Galilee. You like the Galil? You like the north? It's pretty. Overlooking the Canary. You got a nice little place there. 2 dogs in the yard, the whole thing. And you got a little homestead, and that's it. And life is good. And Yeshua gives you some startup money. You gotta run your own farm, because in those days we were agrarian. Believe it or not, I know it sounds funny about Jews, but Jews are supposed to work the land. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu taught us. We're supposed to be farmers. That's the way we're supposed to. It's a funny thing. We talk about Yidden. The first time you see Jews making money, they're selling like water to Egyptians who are drinking blood. So they're busy dying. We're busy, running a wholesale business. But really, it wasn't supposed to be that way. Really, we're supposed to work the land, become a nation of farmers. We're supposed to love the land. So that's it. Aviva and Daniel had that little plot of land, and that's it. The first day, Aviva says, honey, go out and work the land. So you're going to work the land. He's got to go to the village, the local village. There he sees his old friends. He says, okay, what do? I have the startup money. He says, well, we'll give you seeds, and we'll give you tools. And as he's leaving, they say, oh, by the way, Daniel, you're going to need fertilizer, because that's how these things work. You're going to need fertilizer. So he gives him this huge, big sack of freshly made cow's dew. And that's it. There's nothing you can do. And he works out there in the beautiful Galilean sun, plowing his thing. He comes home at the end of the day, and he is exhausted. He cannot move. And Aviva goes, what's that smell? He says, what do you smell like cow's dung. He says, oh my God, I've been working in the fields, give me a break. He says, no, absolutely not. Go take a shower. He says, the nearest shower is like the river, it's like 15 minutes away. Just deal with it, get out of there. He goes out there, he comes back, and finally he sits down, he's exhausted. He says, give me the remote control. And Irina looks at him and says, you are crazy, okay, you get out of your mind. He says, first of all, television will not be invented for another 3,500 years. And secondly, he said, the whole purpose is you got to go out now and start learning Torah. That's it. That's why I married you, right? That's what you would say. Go out and learn Torah. I'll hang out with my friends there. You go out and learn Torah. He says, I can't move. He says, move. That's it. That's a good wife. He moves his body. Meanwhile, Aviva's trying to figure out what she's going to do, because, so there's no TV, so she can sit down and look at the wall. What else is she going to do? And she realizes that really she needs a lot to be able to run her household. She wants to get water. She's got to go to a local well. The bathroom in those days was an outhouse. They had no indoor plumbing. They had no fridges, no freezers, the ovens you had to make from scratch. And this was like back-breaking work, and she's doing this. And then she starts to realize that, hey, her whole life is just involved around this domestic stuff, and it's just driving her crazy. She's driving her crazy. She's like, she's complaining to her husband. Her husband is complaining. Her husband can't even think because he's working so hard on the land. And the two of them look at each other and they say the following thing. They say, when we see Yeshua, we are going to give him a piece of our mind. We want to go back to the midbar where life was easy. We don't want to be over here sweating away in this crazy hot, Galilee homestead. We want to go back to this wonder world of the manna, the wonder world of, of freshly perfumed clothing, the wonder world of the best classes in the world. We don't want all this stuff. And they wait for the next festival, just out of interest. In Yeshua, guess what the very first mitzvah is? It's mentioned in the book of Yeshua. The first mitzvah the Jewish people did, and it's not by chance, it's the Omer. Get it? It's the Omer. It's the mitzvah of bringing the barley korban, the barley sacrifice. So they come, whatever it is, the next Yom Tov, it's Pesach. They come to Jerusalem, Aliyah L'Regal, and they come, and it's like a sign for complaints to Yeshua, wait here. And they come, they see it's a mile, half a mile long. Everyone's waiting in line to complain to Yeshua. And eventually it's their turn. They come in. And Yeshua takes one look at them and says, let me guess. You want to complain about your jobs. You don't like working in the fields, and you don't like sitting there trying to figure out how to make food when there's nothing, and there's no freezer, and there's no fridge, and there's no nothing, and you're going crazy. He says, and they went, He says, we don't like this. We want to go back to the midbar. At that point then, Yeshua looks at them and said, what did our master, Moshe Rabbeinu, do at the end of every class? He clicks his finger out, come the gospel singers. Take me to the promise, and there they go, they're off again. He says, what do you want from us? It's not a promised land. It's not exactly what we wanted at all. And Yeshua looks, why is it that you didn't get it? He says, what do you mean? He says, everything we did in the Midbar was to get to that moment when you got to the promised land and you do exactly what you're supposed to be doing. What's that? Passing barley through sieves. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Refining barley. He says, what do you mean? He says, okay, let's start off a day in the life. You wake up. First, Daniel wakes up first thing in the morning. First, second of the morning. What does he say? Moda ani lefanecha. You start off your day with thanking Hashem for another day. It's the next moment. Runs to the bathroom, washes his hands, he comes out, he says blessings. He thanks Hashem for his body. He takes a shower. Okay, so you take your shower, you do your head before your body, because your head is more important than your body, and if you learn these laws yet, you do your right side before the left side, because yamin is more important than small. He puts on his shoes, he puts his right shoe before his left shoe, then he ties his left shoe, because tying corresponds to the tefillin, which you do on the left, and then he ties his right shoe. What's he doing? Every physical animal act, everyone has to do that. Even animals eat and animals bathe, but you pass it through a sieve. You ask yourself, how can I elevate it? You come to your food. So how many laws pertain to food? There's a ton of them. You do your tithing and your thing, you make sure there's kosher, there's no worms and stuff like that. You see your blessings before, your blessing after. You're supposed to eat in a refined way. You're not supposed to eat like a pig. There's all kinds of things, and then you have to go to work, and there's thousands and thousands of halachos about the workplace, and then you have to interact with other human beings, the laws of speech. So I'll tell you a little secret. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, all we do is we engage barley. We engage what, for all intents and purposes, the same world as the animal world. The animals get up as well. Animals have their own social lives. If you read the Far Side, you can see it right there. Animals have a sense of humor. Animals, they go to sleep. They also like to bathe. They're like us. It's more or less very similar to what we do. We go to work. They go to the fields and they graze. It's the same world. It's just that we pass the barley through sieves. That's what we do. We pass it through a sieve. Now, if you think that halacha ends there, you're wrong. This is already the Hasidic masters talk about this nonstop. There's not 613 commandments. There's 613 baseline commandments. Each commandment has ways that you can squeeze more and squeeze more and squeeze more. Like I told you, in a relationship, your husband can bring you flowers or he can bring you flowers. Let's pretend you like flowers. You like flowers? Okay, what's your favorite? There's all kinds of different types. So maybe if he cares about you enough, he'll realize to change the flowers that he brings and to show a little bit of creativity in what he brings you. There's all kinds of things you can do. If you love someone you care about, you can refine it and get it better and more perfect and more perfect. But you can only reach the number 13. And that's exactly the point that I want to get to. And that is, no matter how much you can refine the physical world, you can only reach the number 13, which is the completion of barley. Now let's switch that over into the world of Sfiras Omer. Because if you remember on Seder night, I gave you a class a few weeks ago. I said on Seder night, you're shown your potential. You're shown the world that could be. But that world of Seder night is a magical world. That world is in a couple of hours we cram in. Remember? You were in my house. I saw you there. We crammed in 15 steps, Kaddish, all the way to Nirtzah. We went, 4 cups of wine and the matzah and the maror and the korach and the thing and the kids and Hallel and Nirtzah and Echad Miyadeh and all these different things. And then finally, you get to make cow sounds and dog sounds. And it's so much, there's so much going on. Seder is so, but it's really, you are transported into a magical world. You know which magical world it was? Remember that from my last class? The world of the womb. Anyone remember those words? You're going back to the womb. You're going back to the midbar. That night, you go back and you taste the world of the womb, the magical world where everything is perfect. But that's not where God wants you to be. Because the next day you start counting the Sphira. And you count it for 49 days. The number 49 is 7 times 7. 7 is a barley-based number. It is the maximum number in the physical, animalistic world. 7 times 7, it's just another way of saying 13 sieves. It's really just another way of saying the same idea. But you can never, ever reach the number 50. You can never, ever reach the number 50. That's still the world of the barley. So I'll tell you a little secret. Barley can never become wheat. But if you can get everything you can to get to the number 49, the 50th level you get as a gift from Hashem. That's the great kiss from Hashem, the great hug. Hashem says, I will transport you into the world of the number 50, into the world of Adam. That's Adam before the sin. That's the perfected man. That's the animal, has no connection to the animal world. That's the number 50. Then you're back into the world of the womb. Then you're back into the world of perfection, back into the midbar. But you did it through your sweat, blood, and tears by taking the physical world and passing it through a sieve. That's what we do this time of the year. In other words, Seder night, 1 to 49, and then the 50th level is basically a microcosm of our lives. Seder night is our womb. And then 1 to 49 is what we do here in this world. And the 50th is a taste of that world called the world to come, which is forever and ever and ever. It's beyond counting. It's beyond barley. It's beyond sieves. It's beyond the world of sweat and hard work. It's the world of pleasure with the one that you loved. You go back into the womb. You go back into Seder night, but this time you've earned it. This time you face Hashem, so to speak, obviously only so to speak, as an equal partner. Another way of saying it is that the month of Nissel is, anyone know this? Aries, the lamb. The lamb is passive. The lamb gets everything as a gift. The month of Iyar, which is the month of Sphira, is Taurus, the bull. The bull is the hard work. The bull is the sweat and the tears. The bull is pushing his body to try and get there. And then finally, you hit Gemini, the twins. And that's the world of the number 50. You're back in the womb, but you did it, you earned it. Nothing is being given to you as a gift. You made it happen. That's what it's all about. So now I want to get back to you people, because you guys are not rocket scientists, but you don't have to be one to figure out that Neve is a womb. It's a little bit, everything is laid out for you on the table. You want to do what's right, you can ask your teachers, your friends are there cheering you on. It's relatively easy. But go and do what's right, where you're the only person in your office trying to be tsanua, or trying to talk in a refined language, or trying not to, to be lowered into the discussions that are going on. And you're there on your own. I just got this whole discussion with one of my students. She's actually incredible. She works in the flavor department in Pepsi. She creates the next taste in Pepsi. So I told her, if you want to be my friend, and you want to talk to me as your rabbi, you tell Pepsi in my name that next year they better have Pepsi Max kosher lePesach. That's what I told her. I said to her, but she described to me the environment. These are really, really wonderful people to work to. These are wonderful people. They're good, honest, hardworking, whatever it is, all American. They're all brilliant. They're all fun. They're all good meatos. But they all talk like in the gutter. She said it's like a crazy situation for her. It's just the way, I don't know, I don't really get it. It's just acceptable in her office. The people swear the whole time. And also, she said to me that, that we work as a team. There's music being played. It's not like you don't go around, with these little things. There's music being played. And the music are just like intolerable lyrics. I don't have to explain this to you. But today, you guys know this much more than me, that the music today sounds like in a biology class. It's just that, today we're discussing the female anatomy. And that's what they talk about the whole time. And she's trying to keep her head above water and explain to what it means that she's shomenagia, that she doesn't shake hands, and how hard it is to be in the workplace as a frum tsanua girl. It's crazy. It's really crazy. She's doing it, by the way. She's very successful, and she married a. She's doing it. She's doing exactly what she's supposed to be. You have to learn also the art of compromise. You have to learn a little bit how to work with people who are different from you. It's all part of the things. But in the Vey, we don't tell you what to do. In the Vey, we give you instincts. In the Vey, what we basically try and teach you is how to pass barley through a sieve. That's all we're trying to do. How to think about how you talk, how to think about how you relate with people, how to think about how to do a mitzvah, the way that actually brings you closer to Hashem. The idea that Shabbos is not just a day off, it's a day on. All these different things, we're trying to give you those instincts. So one day you go out and you build your home and your community and you build Klal Yisrael. So you'll know what to do. You'll know what to do. Your instincts will tell you how to pass the situations that life throws at you, how to pass them through sieves. That's what it's all about. That's the great secret of living a Torah life, of living a Jewish life. And everything boils down to these 50 days, really 51. It started 52 if you want to include Erev Pesach, and it takes you all the way to Shavuos. Well, we're back to where we started. We've done a full circle. But this time, we've come out as equal partners. This time we get it. This time we understand it's okay to till the land. It's okay to work on your house and do all these different things that are mundane, because that's what Jews do. We believe in embracing the physical and passing it through sieves. That's what it's all about. So I just wanted to say how I started off. This is in your honor. Aviva, you should be proud of your name, because in your name, this is the time of the year where we remember that we came out with the barley harvest, almost as if to say, warning, freedom comes with a catch, but it's not really a catch, it seems like a catch. The freedom means the freedom to work the land, but real freedom is to work the land and to raise it to the highest of the highest. And when you've done the highest that you can, Hashem will push you over from 49 into 50, from the world of barley into the world of wheat. That's the great hug, the great kiss that Hashem gives to us when we reach our potential and we finally reach the ultimate pleasure, which is closest to Hashem. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, back to Tefillah again.